This is WGEM News This Week, a weekly public affairs program from WGEM News.
Hello everyone, I'm Matt Schmidt. Welcome to WGEM News This Week. Glad you could be with us. Our guest this week, Major Dan Jennings from the Quincy Salvation Army. Glad you could be with us.
Yeah, excellent to be here.
A lot going on in the Salvation Army right now, but we're going to start with talking about the Emergency Shelter and Family Services building. This past week, a major kickoff to get funding to complete that building, which will be going near 5th and Broadway, right across the street from the new Kroc Center. So a lot going on there, kind of bring us up to date on the relocation, rebuilding of the Emergency Services building.
Yeah, well, it all really starts with the Kroc Center. As you might know, the Kroc Center sits on the former property that the shelter used to sit on. So right now we're temporarily located in an off-campus spot, and we're hopeful to build a new shelter just right across the street from the current Kroc Center. And we've launched a campaign to raise the vital funds that we're going to need to build that shelter. So we're excited about it happening. It is really the backbone of our mission and really what we're all about. So we want to make sure we give good attention to it and that it finds a new home.
Yeah, like you said, temporarily you've been at a QU North campus for a couple years now because of the construction site going on. Tell us a little bit about how you've been able to sustain that, how that's been working out. Obviously, having to move things around. I know your daily lunch has to still be at the church at 7th and Hampshire, I believe, at St. John's there. Different things had to be moved around, but how's that going overall, keeping the services going?
Really, it couldn't have been better. To find yourself in a temporary spot is always a difficult thing, but everything really lined up. To have a spot that was a former dormitory to suddenly be turned into a shelter, it really is a blessing to be able to have that spot. We're so grateful that it's available to us, and it works, but it is temporary. There's plans to do something different with that, I'm sure, and they'll want their space back eventually, but in the meantime, it's worked out to be a fantastic place. But the end result is going to be a fantastic new facility, a new Kroc Center, so the end result is very good. We just have to live through this displacement in the middle.
The new emergency building shelter, about $2.5 million project, and this week trying to finish off the fundraising for that. How much? About 120-some thousand you have to go?
Yeah, we have to raise another 120,000 in a campaign. We've got other funding lined up to help with it, but that last little bit of the campaign we've got to raise here locally. So we've just started a major effort to try to raise those funds, and what a good thing to do with funding, to be able to get a shelter up and running for the people who are really in the most need in our community.
Now, one thing you probably want to explain for us, because I'm sure you get the question a lot, is, okay, you've got the Kroc Center, why can't you use Kroc Center money to build emergency shelter or for other services? Well,
it would be fantastic if it could, but as a part of the trust, which was given to us specifically for the Kroc Center, none of those funds can be spent on anything else except for that center. So it's not that we have just chosen internally not to use those funds, but we're restricted by the donors themselves.
Okay. The emergency shelter, how many rooms will you have? How many people will you be able to take at one time?
Well, we're hoping to have about 24 rooms. We're still just in the last bits of the construction drawings, and so that'll dictate the room that we have, but we hope to have about 24 rooms of shelter for families, and there'll be individual rooms for singles, and we also have a couple of family units. So if a homeless father and children come in, we've got adequate place for them, which is a little bit unusual for most shelters, so it gives us the maximum amount of coverage for the types of people we might encounter.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when people hear the emergency shelter, they may think of someone homeless, transient, but a lot of times who you're serving is people who have suddenly lost jobs or the ability to afford their own housing. You're giving them shelter for at least a month, right, to help them get back on their feet.
Well, that's exactly right. And what we should say is that the image of who the homeless are isn't the classic image that we might see, just maybe a single man living on the street. It really is people just like you and me. It's the type of people you see in the grocery store. It's the type of people you sit next to in church who just for one reason or another have faced an extremely difficult time and have lost their home or lost the place they're able to rent. And just for that short period of time need some place to call home. And the Salvation Army is there in that gap to provide those needed nights of lodging. And it's really fantastic to see folks who have had that need to suddenly have it met and to just be there in that critical moment when they need some place to go. And it's a remarkable to be able to be there at that moment, and we're happy to do it as a part of the Salvation Army.
There's a wonderful video for the Salvation Army produced by Chris Kelly, and I don't know if is it on your website yet, or soon will be if it's not.
Yes.
Definitely worth checking out. But it does tell the personal side of a lot of these people who have utilized the shelter, how it has turned their lives around, given them the will to either find that job to help them make money or find the will to pay their own rent. But it really has turned families around.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic video, and what it really does is puts a face on what the homeless population looks like here in Quincy, and it allows you to hear those personal stories. So it's fantastic. I recommend it for anyone who might be able to take a look at it, and it will be on the webpage very quickly for people to access and take a look at.
And when it does come to helping these families, is it just a 30-day stay, or you just kind of work with situation to situation?
It's designed to be a 30-day stay. In an extreme circumstance, we have extended that longer, but the primary purpose of it is really to be emergency lodge, not long-term housing. So 30 days is the goal, but again, in those extreme circumstances, we have gone beyond that as people need just a little bit more time to get themselves on their feet.
Okay. And once again, the location of this is the former Inman Gallery building at 5th and Broadway. The shelter itself will be built from scratch.
That's right.
The former gallery building will be renovated for family services?
That's exactly right. Right now, family services and everything else that's a part of the Kroc Center are all occupying a temporary space. In September, when the Kroc Center comes online, that's when we have to move forward to a new location because the temporary spot will no longer be available. So family services will occupy, which will be that portion that's there now, but will be remarkably renovated. And then now when you see parking lot will be a brand new family shelter. And it really is an attractive building. It'll look very nice, very much in line with the same type of design and architecture that the Kroc Center is built with. So it will look like a very nice, very wonderful place, a new addition to the skyline.
And the Kroc Center and shelter kind of go hand in hand. To get the Kroc Center, the city obviously already had a shelter, but you have to have a shelter to have a Kroc Center? Is that the way it works?
Not necessarily. There are places where we don't have it, but what we did not want to do in Quincy was to not have that service anymore. It's a vital part of who we are, and we did not want to give that up. It's part of what we do. It's part of our mission, and we just refuse to not provide that service in this community still.
And just having it downtown probably makes a difference. I mean, just obviously, if you're homeless, vehicles aren't easy to come by. So being on North Campus is probably posed a little bit of a challenge of helping people get back and forth around town, whereas downtown might make it a little easier.
Yeah, it's a bit easier, I would suppose, but even without transportation, we find that public transportation is available, and we've even used taxis to get people around. So we've worked around that a bit, but it will be nice to have it in proximity to the Kroc Center. Obviously, we'll have services there for people to take advantage of, and to be next to family services is ideal. I mean, that's where people will get groceries, that's where people will get assistance and guidance and referrals to get to their new homes or their new jobs and to find things like that. So to have the two together, it really is a hand-in-hand ministry that takes place.
Okay. Speaking, we've mentioned the Kroc Center several times. We'll get an update on that now. If you've driven through Broadway, 5th and Broadway area, you've seen it. Massive structure gone up in the last several months. It looks wonderful. Everybody's probably getting excited to see what it's going to look like inside, so give us an update on the Kroc project.
Oh, it is fantastic. In fact, I was just there a few moments ago, and it's amazing from day to day the amount of progress that takes place. A lot of the finishes are going in now, and as you walk in, it really is just a stunning facility. You're almost overwhelmed by the massive just depth of the how big the building is, how high the building is. It just really is absolutely beautiful, designed perfectly, and the engineering of it is absolutely state of the art.
And when it's completed, hopefully you're looking at late summer?
Yeah, we're looking at perhaps the middle of September as being our grand opening. We're looking for about September 10th as being sort of the first exercises of opening, and then culminating on the 17th and 18th of September with a big grand opening and dedication celebration.
And it is called the Kroc Community Center because this is open to the community. Everyone will have access to functions if they want to rent it out, but obviously the weight room, equipment areas, that type of stuff. There's a lot swimming pool. There's a lot there for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got three really fantastic large features. One is what we've been calling a pool, but it's maybe a little bit of a misnomer to call it a pool. It's more of a water park than it is a pool, including a 24-foot water slide, a lazy river, a couple of lap lanes, and a zero-entry pool so that the whole family can enjoy it and use different parts of it at the same time. That's fantastic. That's a major part of the Kroc Center. The second part is a 25-foot climbing wall, which has now been installed, and it is really impressive to stand next to it and look at how massive it is, and just imagine people using it to climb and exercise as they move up the wall. And the third thing is the recreation center or the workout center, and everything in there is absolutely going to be state of the art, including all of the cardio machines, all of the weight machines, and it is really going to be a fantastic facility. And part of the facility, of course, is membership when we talk about the pool and the recreation center and the climbing wall, but a major portion of the building is for the community. You don't have to be a member to access it. You can come in, and in fact, we'll have a little restaurant there where people can buy coffee and use the cafe. We've got community rooms that can be rented out, and all these things you don't have to be a member to access. So a major portion of the building is open to the public. We hope it'll be a gathering place for people. I can imagine folks coming in, having meetings there, gathering together to do different activities. We really hope it becomes a community.
And you're probably pretty proud of that. We were talking beforehand, the worship center where the glasses had just started to go in, a very magnificent area there.
Yeah, absolutely. A beautiful, beautiful chapel. We're looking forward to having our congregation meet there on the weekends, and it'll hold about 550 people in the chapel, and it really is just absolutely stunning to see those large, large windows with a prominent glass cross where people can see it. It's going to be a magnificent, stunning, inspirational place to gather.
Overall, I mean, I'm sure this has been brought up over the years, but is Quincy small for a community to have this, or does the size of a city not matter, or is it pretty fortunate that Quincy has the Kroc opportunity here?
It's very fortunate, and much of the decision making based on the Kroc Center was the ability to raise funds local to match the endowment dollars that came in. And Quincy was actually first in the territory to raise their match dollars, so they were the very first community to really receive the news that we were getting a Kroc Center. So that put us on the map. Quincy is the smallest population town that's receiving a Kroc Center. There are a few people in about 65,000 or so, but we are the smallest community that's receiving a Kroc Center. But the size of our Kroc Center equals some of the larger cities' square footage size, with being nearly 100,000 square feet.
All right. Well, it's been exciting watching the construction, and I'm sure just as exciting to get it going and get people in the building again.
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to step aside for a break, but much more with Major Dan Jennings from the Quincy Salvation Army right after this.